If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides from Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining us on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future releases that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator, and today we are going to be talking about some of my favorite aircraft in the simulator. We did a video like this a few months back, and today we're going to do another one as some of these things have changed quite dramatically. So let's go ahead and get started with the aircraft that we have here on the screen. This is the ATR-72, specifically the 72-600 series. This aircraft is a ton of fun. It is the right balance of complexity as well as just old-fashioned steam gauge avionics. Even though it's primarily screen controlled, there's just something about it that gives you the sense of an older aircraft. One of the really neater things about it is the fact that it's flown in so many different locations around the world, and some of them can be quite exotic. And given the fact that it can fly into places like Alaska and things of that nature, gives you sort of a shorter list of places that you would fly it in relationship to where, say, you would fly something like a Boeing 737 or the A320. The way that its systems are laid out and the overhead panels and the overall operation of the aircraft itself make it a ton of fun to get started up and ready to roll. It doesn't have that same feeling that the startup process or initiation process of, as I said, aforementioned, the Boeing 737 or the A320, for example, do, and certainly not something like the 787. There's just something about it that makes it completely different to fly than any other aircraft in the simulator of its size and caliber. I highly recommend that you guys check this aircraft out. It is certainly not without its issues. It's got a couple of bugs here and there that can be kind of annoying. There seems to be an interesting issue with running turnaround flights on it, but you can always simply do a restart at your next location and start the aircraft back up. I will say that its overall performance, once you get it up and running, is a blast, as I have mentioned here in this video today. I do have a guide on this aircraft, so if you guys are interested in learning how to fly the aircraft from a cold and dark state to cold and dark shutdown, that is available on my Patreon site as well. It has everything you need to fly the aircraft included in the guide, and trust me, it really is worth it. My only downfall to this aircraft is I wish that I could buy it third party instead of only purchasing it through the Microsoft marketplace. I don't like buying aircraft through the marketplace simply because the updates can take so long to come out. And again, this aircraft isn't without issues. So again, that is the ATR 72-42-600 series of aircraft. Next up on our list is the Carinado Mooney. The M20 is an absolute joy of an aircraft to fly, and probably, in my opinion, Carinado's best release to date. This aircraft just works all the way around. Now, you all know that Carinado doesn't always have the most advanced flight models, maybe not always the best of performance, but there's just something about this aircraft that it's just fun all the way around. It's a steam gauge aircraft, so you don't have to worry about all the digital screens and all the other stuff that comes with the touchscreen controllers and all that. None of that exists in this particular aircraft. But the aircraft is fun enough to fly. The thing's even got speed brakes on it. I have flown this aircraft ever since its initial release in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I continue to fly it to this day, especially on ones where I just kind of want to tool around by myself and maybe do something off screen. It works great in VR and in 2D. It doesn't seem to matter which one that you choose. It's just an absolutely fantastic little aircraft. The price is absolutely right for this aircraft. The updates come out soon enough that it's definitely worth it to have it, although it hasn't needed an update in quite a long time and just continues to fly and do its thing. Again, very, very awesome aircraft, you guys. Definitely worth the purchase. I promise you'll have a ton of fun with it. No matter what you think of Carinado, there are some people who like their aircraft, some people who don't. But this aircraft is a lot of fun. It's fast, it's maneuverable, it's got neat little features into it that just make it a really good time. Works great in VR and 2D, and just like I said, it's just an aircraft I keep going back to. So again, this is the M20R Mooney from Coronado or Coronado, however you want to say it. But that is the M20 Mooney, you guys. Highly recommend this aircraft. Next up on our list here would be absolutely any of the Just Flight PA-28 series of aircraft. They are all incredibly high fidelity, incredibly challenging aircraft that have a ton of complexity, as well as the old steam gauge configuration, keeping you very, very busy in the cockpit while enjoying, again, a very complex and high fidelity flight state. These aircraft definitely keep you on your toes and are a great aircraft to practice on inside the simulator. It is definitely something that was very, very welcomed when they first released, and it was much needed in the simulator. I would say they were one of the first ones to really bring some serious complexity to the general aviation market with inside of Microsoft Flight Simulator. The aircraft themselves are priced point, in my opinion, is right on target where they should be. They are updated on a very regular basis, meaning that the developers are continuously improving the aircraft and overall performance and experience that you're going to have from the Just Flight series of PA-28s. You have everything from the Warriors to the Turbos as well, giving you plenty of different options that you can choose from with these aircraft. Again, they are fast, they're agile, you can fly them just about anywhere you want to go. They're great for a good Sunday flight or somewhere if you wanted to do a good pattern hop all the way across any particular country such as the United States. They're an absolute joy. I've never had any crash of desktops in these aircraft. I've never had any poor experiences with these aircraft. When they first launched, they were very, very nasty in VR, in my personal opinion. However, that has also too since been resolved. I haven't had any issues with them whatsoever inside of VR in quite a long time. Frame rate is maintained, and the overall experience of the aircraft, as I've stated obviously clearly, is very, very much so a joy to fly. The tablet inside them gives you a ton of different options, some quality of life features. For example, something that you can turn on and off is automatic fuel tank switching. If you do not want to have to switch the fuel tanks or be on top of your fuel tank monitoring, you don't have to. You can actually disable that with inside the tablet and have it switch automatically, as some of the more advanced aircraft have inside of them. So they didn't just make it a one-to-one repeat of the aircraft, but also brought you the opportunity to sort of customize some of those features to your own liking. Again, this is any of the Just Flight PA-28 series of aircraft. Very, very recommended for the general aviation market, as well as, well, most of these aircraft are, to be honest, which is why I'm making the video about them. Next up on our list is the Milviz FG-1D Corsair. The Corsair has been one of my favorite aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator since it launched. It's an absolute dream to fly, yet providing a ton of challenge. It also helps that it's one of my favorite aircraft in existence of the world today. But let's talk about some of the features in flying it. It has a very awesome tablet, or I should say tablet tray, that gives you the ability to set many of the features and customization that are available in the aircraft, such as armament, loadout, fuel tanks, and some of the difficulty parameters. Even has a very, very basic autopilot system that is, again, set in the tablet, not necessarily designed for actual use, if you want to fly it to its most realistic point. However, it also has things such as engine failures and damage that you can do to the engine, preventing, obviously, further operation of the aircraft should you not pay attention to your gauges. The other really cool thing about it is, again, it has a nice balance of complexity, given the fact that on both takeoff and landing, you definitely get many of those tail dragger characteristics that can make the aircraft quite difficult to handle and deal with when landing or taking off. You really do have to dance the rudder pedals in this particular aircraft, or the wing will come over the top of you and spin you out very, very quickly. So it's got that good balance of just about everything. Not to mention the soundscape of this aircraft is absolutely beautiful. I love listening to the sound of this aircraft from inside the cockpit. That really brings out the immersion for you. This is a wonderful one to fly inside of virtual reality, especially. There's just, again, something about it between the sounds and the 3D view and the depth perception. It even has the dive flaps that are modeled, so you can actually put it down into a dive, open up your dive flaps, and sort of simulate a diving run as if you were back in the days of World War II. Remember, this is basically a model of the F4U Corsair, but this is the FG-1D, again, from Milviz. really highly recommended aircraft. I've been recommending this one for a very long time. I've got multiple videos on this aircraft if you guys are interested, and I highly suggest you guys check those out if you want further information on the review. But if you're willing to just take my word for it, head over to the MilViz site now and pick this bad boy up, because I promise you won't be disappointed. Again, that is the MilViz FG1D Corsair. All right, next up on our list, we have the JP Logistics Cessna 152. This aircraft has gone through so many modifications over the years of Microsoft Flight Simulator from the JP Logistics, and I believe it's now WB Sim who is taking control of this particular project. This aircraft has truly turned into a darn near study-level version of the Cessna 152. It is an absolutely stunning rendition of the aircraft and provides a ton of opportunity to take the aircraft to a point where you could actually use it to start practicing some real-world operation. I really, really recommend that you guys check this one out. This is a completely freeware modification for the aircraft, so that it requires no payment whatsoever, as all the other aircraft were payware aircrafts that would obviously need to be purchased. The Cessna JP Logistics or WB Sim 152 does not require any kind of money up front or thereafter, and provides a wonderful experience with the aircraft itself. I've always disliked the 152. I found it to be incredibly underpowered, just an overall pain in the butt to fly. You couldn't really go anywhere and get anywhere in a reasonable amount of time with the aircraft. And then when JP Logistics started really putting out the modifications to it and changing everything from the flight model to the behavior of the aircraft to adding many different features, such as, for example, I believe it has GTN 750 integration now, though I never use it. Every time that I fly this aircraft, I fly it with the default radio stack in it. But it has completely changed my perception of the Cessna 152 and definitely changed the way that I feel about flying it and using it as a potential trainer. Many of us who go to start our piloting career will probably begin piloting something like the 152 or 172. And so it was really awesome that they took on this particular aircraft and turned it into something absolutely fantastic. It has a tablet inside of it. It has state saving in it as well. So as well as some wear and tear options that you'll have to maintain through the tablet itself. They really did a great job bringing a default aircraft to life with inside of the simulator and giving it the potential that it absolutely needed and truthfully should have been released with, especially something like the 152, given how commonly flown it is for training purposes. So again, that is the JP Logistics WB Sim Cessna 152 improvement mod that is completely free. That can be found, I believe, still on flightsim.to. If not, I know it is available on their Discord now, guys, and all you have to do is Google search it and it will come right up. All right, as we get into these last two aircraft on today's list, I want to make it very clear these are not all of my favorites. These are just some of my most favorite aircraft, and they are certainly not the only ones that are out there that are definitely worth buying here. So let's go ahead and talk about these last two aircraft, though, because they are very, very challenging for each other. First one here is the A2A Simulations 250 Comanche. This aircraft is absolutely fantastic, and I believe that A2A was the first one to truly turn the heads in games and change the level of immersion that was made possible inside of any flight simulation, for Microsoft Flight Simulator at least, in regard to things like pre-flight checklists, run-ups, damage, wear and tear. The damage model is actually there, meaning that if you crash land it, you're very likely going to bend, break, etc. The propellers and all kinds of other things. It is a really amazingly done aircraft. One of the other really cool things that really sets it apart from many others, as we mentioned here, was the walk-around checklist. You can actually go through and check through all of the different features of the aircraft that would need to be monitored in order to do your pre-flight. Things like such as checking the gas can, going ahead and moving over to your lights and doing your tie downs, your plugs, rotating things like your flight control systems, although I think I have the control lock on, so I can't do that at the moment. Checking your baggage compartments, removing baggage, tools, etc. Notice that the aircraft even lightened up as we did it. Again, I can't, oh, there it goes. We can actually test your stuff, set your tie downs, and then obviously everything else that goes in line with it, everything from setting your payload to all the other good jazz that comes with this aircraft. They really changed the game. Absolutely turned it into something completely different than what we've ever seen before in Microsoft Flight Simulator prior to this aircraft. You have multiple avionics options. The sounds and performance of the aircraft are right on par. It uses the A2A simulation software in order to control its flight model, which makes it very, very realistic and truly, truly changed the experience. This aircraft is 100% worth it if you're looking for a plane that you really have to dive in deep with and really have to learn its ins and outs on. If you're looking for a very high fidelity general aviation PA-28-250 Comanche, this is definitely the aircraft you want to pick up, as it will keep you busy for a very long time, keep you on your toes, and really give you the opportunity to get an idea of what it would be like to fly this thing in the real world. Finally, my grand victor of today, my new number one, my absolute love, the best of the best in my personal opinion, the Black Squares TBM 850. The TBM 850 is an absolutely astonishing aircraft with an impeccable flight model and tons of incredible features. With every button, switch, circuit breaker, and feature that exists in the aircraft perfectly modeled, in my humble opinion, in this aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator. With a very thorough checklist and a very thorough procedure list, both emergency and normal, available for the aircraft. Everything from hot starts to other engine damage and failures available in the plane, with obviously new updates and things on its way. This aircraft is incredible. It is by far the most enjoyable flight experience I have had to date in Microsoft Flight Simulator. They really outdid themselves. Black Square really made a name for themselves, in my personal opinion, with this particular aircraft, and I would recommend it to anyone who appreciates the aircraft of its genre, style, and type. The TBM 850, I've had such a great time with it. I have not been able to put it down ever since its release. The aircraft is actually my primary focus right now, as we are already over 50% through its own guide. This is how much I have not been able to put the aircraft down. It is so much fun to fly. There's just something very, very awesome about it. It doesn't have the glass cockpit configuration like we see with the TBM 930. The TBM 930 is an absolutely wonderful aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator, but the 850 just shatters it. Obviously, it being developed by a renowned third-party developer who has obviously proven their work time and time again, but this was actually the first of the Black Square products that I have owned, and I can tell you that they did not let me down, as you guys can clearly hear in my voice. The TBM 850 is so much fun, you guys, whether you are someone who's looking for high complexity, study level quality of aircraft, or just a fun aircraft to go tool around, and this is still an aircraft for you. It has a little bit of everything for everybody, from the walk-arounds to the baggage doors to luggage to all the good stuff that you would expect to see in many of these aircraft, even being able to open up the engine compartment and do some of your checks there. Again, very, very, very recommended. The Black Square TBM 850, in my opinion, currently the queen of the crop for general aviation simmers and Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's going to wrap up today's videos, guys, of some of my favorite aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Again, that is not all of them. There is a bunch of them that I have left out. I had to sort of pick and choose which ones I want to talk about today, but we'll be doing more of these videos in the future. I hope you guys are safe and healthy. Stay that way if you are. Get that way if you aren't. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.